Welcome to the George's FTTV YouTube channel. Today we have a question and answer video. So thank you to those who left a question in the community tab on YouTube. I said just if anyone has a question, leave one and I'll answer it in a video. So we have about 15 questions to read out, so it should be good. So I think we'll just get started. It won't take too long, 15 odd questions. So yeah. So here we go. First question is from Mitchell Barrow. Thoughts on Harry Himmelberg? An interesting one. There was an article where they said Himmelberg was permanent defense, or there was an interview on SCN, so he's playing defense. We know. I think they were playing games with shifting him forward, but that was never really, didn't seem like it was going to happen. So he's in defense. So when he played back there, he averaged, must have been around post-buy, he averaged 90 and he's priced at 80. I don't think he can score enough in that system. You look at the year before, he was the main person or main driver out of defense, was intercepting everything. But now, you know, they got Buckley who intercepts, Whitfield, Ash, Himmelberg, three essentially flankers sharing too many points. And these, you know, what did Ash average? Just have a quick look. I know Whitfield was 90 odd, 83. So between the three of them, there's just not enough points to go around. And we saw Whitfield start to get back to his best. So Himmelberg, I don't think will score enough. I think he'll average 90, say high 80s to low 90s. And that's not enough at 450k, so 440k. So it's a no from me. Too much point sharing, too many other players that can intercept. Yeah, too many that can rebound. So that's why I don't like Himmelberg. But if you think otherwise, he's one you could look at. But that's my view on Himmelberg. Next question from LFC, just a bunch of letters and numbers, but thoughts on Dev Robertson? I like this question. So we'll look at Dev quickly, just bring him up. Dev, 253k mid forward. I like Dev. He's been playing, he's been sub a lot, but they've also made him play a bit of wing, a bit of, might have tagged one game, a bit of half forward, but he's very much like defensive forward. He's very much a, you know, they haven't really given him that inside role where he did 110 in the VFL with fantasy points. He'll do the team thing and he does like the defensive stuff. So do they continue to use him in that role now that no Ashcroft? Well, there's no Ashcroft for probably the first 3/4 of the year. Do they give Dev a bit of an inside mid role, play that big bodied mid sort of role? I don't know. That's one to watch. We'll get round 0 to look at him. But I do like him, but I just don't know he'll get a decent enough role. There's always a risk that he can be sub as well, because they have a pretty strong best 22. You know, do they want to use Jasper Fletcher, monitor his progress? Do they want to use him in the midfield? It's all about role for Dev, because if he's playing a bit of wing, 250k, it's kind of just wasting your time. But I hope they just take him out of the wing equation and get him into that midfield. Got Jared Lyons there too, so are they done with Jared Lyons? Do they not want to play him and Dunkley in the same team? I'm not sure. So we'll look at that at round 0. Very much around 0 watch. But I think there's a decent chance that he could end up in a few sides. Philip Dimov, this is from Shaq in our Discord. I can't say his last name. Dimovsky. Philip. He asks about Nick Watson, the Wizard. 189k for a small forward. So forgetting the height at the moment, generally it is hard to, you know, if you're paying 190k, you probably want them on the field. I've got Curtin on the bench here, but I'm not even sure I'll start him, see how he goes. It's a lot of money to have on the bench. Do you want him on the field? I remember Shaq, I was talking to him the other day, was saying, you know, he can kick 55 whatever on either side of his either foot, on yeah, just mercurial player. So it's an interesting one because he should play and we need job security, but it's a little expensive for a small forward. He is round 1 ready as far as I've read. When I read the draft profiles, they say you can slot him straight in, he's ready to go. No need to develop him in the 2s. So I think it's too expensive for a small forward. That's my view. I don't think you're missing much if you miss out on him. What's he realistically going to average? Between, I'm not sure. I'm not a draft expert. I don't want to put a number on it, but say maybe 50-ish, around that sort of mark. Can push up the ground, but he's one where it's just a bit expensive for my liking. But you know, I'm not a draft expert. I haven't watched enough of him. Just worth watching. And this is from Mo Salah in our Discord. We have the two biggest wogs in our Discord, asking questions here. Who will be the full forward priced at 200 to 300k that dominates early rounds? There's always one that emerges every season. So yeah, we've had Danaher, we've had Oscar Allen, and we've had Charlie Curnow. So if we look at the key forwards, and someone also asked about Mitch Georgiades, I think he's 300k. Just have a quick look. Oh no, he's 230k. 310k last year. I was looking at the wrong numbers. Okay. So you got Georgiades at 230k. You've got Tom Lynch at about 280, 290. Let's have a quick look. 287. You got Taberner at 170. So they're key forwards that I'm aware of that are around this price. Taberner, I'm not sure is best 22. He's pretty old and injury prone, but worth monitoring if he's back to his best. But they do have Luke Jackson. They do have Amiss up there. I don't know, Tracy, Z played. I don't know. So there's a bit of competition there for him. Lynch is coming off quite a limited preseason. So with Lynch, I'm not sure you're going to learn much from the round 0 game. Just because it's a key forward. He could, if he looks good, that's great. But I remember Curnow the year he won his first Coleman. He was terrible in his first game. He scored like 20 or 30, then just went nuts after that. So it can be hard to judge a key forward off one game. Limited prep. I think no Jack Rewalt makes it interesting. I think Lynch with a full preseason would have been more interesting, but he's one I'm just happy to sit out on. Just key forward, not going to be a keeper. Don't think Richmond are very good, but he could average 80 plus. He's done it before, so at his best, he's definitely a top 3 key forward in the league. So monitor, I guess, but not really highly interested in that. And the other one is Mr. Georgiades. Port have a lot of tools. You know, Ollie Lord's really come on. Todd Marshall's there. Yeah, Georgiades, and I think I'm missing one player. I know they've got a few tolls there. See if we can figure it out. I should not be spending this much time, but 230k is cheap. Who's the other one? They got Finlayson as well. Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I just go for a player with a better role. So it's people have set out these picks every year, and it's been fine. So I think it's fine to sit out again. I don't see any as good as Curnow, Danaher, or Oscar Allen. Next question from Fraser Kenny. Heath Chapman, please. Is he a good pick? Worried if he's stuck on a wing, it will hurt his upside as opposed to playing back. My mind is consumed by Heath. And the next question is Rory Laird. Averaged 120 when you take out the Sun game. The infamous 50 that he scored. So first question is on Heath Chapman. How much is he? He's like 270. Oh, it's got the port filter on. We'll just fix that. Oh, he's 250. Okay, that's very cheap. It was 270 a few years ago when a few people started him. I don't like... in defense, I think there's going to be good rookies. We'll see how Caulfield and Williams go over the preseason. Same with Gibcus. Pink should play. Won't make much, but still he's one for the bench. Marty Hoare. There's a few others. I think we end up just going all the way down to these cheap ones, plus Zach Williams as well. And it's 250 is a very awkward price because you can pay up for, it's a lot of money to feed into a 250k player when that could be, you could top up a value primo into like a fair price keeper depending on how you want to play the game. So I'd rather go straight to the top and pick your Sicily or Stewart or whoever you like, maybe like Luke Ryan, then pick Chapman. Now, if Chapman was playing halfback, different story because there might be 30 points of upside here, especially with Young moving into the midfield. He's a very talented player. I remember watching him in the preseason a few years ago. Hit some incredible, was intercepting like a madman and was hitting some really good darts by foot. Looks really good. By darts, I mean the pill, kicking the pill. He looked really good. On a wing, you're gonna cop a 30 or a 40 every now and then, and it will kill his cash gen. So wing is not good. 250k. I think this is a bad pick if he's on a wing, which is what it looks like. So look, it's all about roll, and if he was in the forward line, you'd consider it, like if he was forward eligible, just because it's a bit of a hellhole and there's no real primos to pick outside of McRae and Flanders at this point, in my opinion. So yeah, wing, he could average like 65 or something, and that's not really enough for 250k. If it was Dyer with rookies, then maybe, but no, not this year. And the lack of lead, I think lead with premiums, there's always, if you're picking someone he's 30 on the dot, actually was checking that the other day, there's always regression risk when you're picking your 29 and 30-year-olds, which is always a bit of a worry, where it's just a slight asterisk that you don't have to worry about other players. Now, he might not regress. He might still go 115 again or 120 without that, so long as it's not 35 degrees against GWS, who pretty much dominated our whole midfield that day. But it's just, yeah, the regression risk is a bit of a worry, and there's just a lot of really, really good mids. Like, you saw, like, Jack McRae. If you started McRae last year and you held him, it would have been pretty painful. He was priced at 115, and he went from 28 to 29. I think he's 29 going on 30 pretty soon, so something like that. So that's the regression risk. You know, we saw Libba had a great season at an older age. I mean, don't know, he missed a lot of football, maybe the body, like 2 years of ACL, maybe that had to say less miles than the legs sort of thing. But I think Laird's a fine pick. The Crows midfield is still very much up in the air in terms of, is it going to be Laird, Dawson and Crouch, and then spurts of Rochelle, spurts of Pedler and Saligo. You know, where's Berry at? They got Dowling in the SNFL. What's the midfield mix look like? Do they all drop CBAs to get the kids in there more? I'm not too sure. I'm sitting out Laird. I think 650k. I don't think he'll get much more expensive than that. And yeah, regression risk with age. I don't think he's like this as super safe, but I think he's like solid just because age is a factor. Next question. But if you want to pick him, go ahead. Mighty Meso. Thoughts on Lockie Schultz? Averaged 97 in wins in 2023. Interesting. So yeah, you expect Collingwood to win a lot this year, 2024, but I just can't justify small forward, half forward. I think he's expensive too. Where is he? Price at 79. You just can't justify this. Is he playing midfield? They got heaps of midfield players at Collingwood. It's a no from me. Unless you know something I don't about midfield role, but it's a no for me. Bryster Wularo asks, do you think the same teams will leak SC points, or will some tighten up? It's a hard one. I think for the most part, just look at the midfields that have changed and the ones that are staying the same, or maybe the ones that are aging. For example, Hawthorn were a poor clearance team for quite a while there, but they changed the whole thing. Will Day in there, Newcomb more time in there, Warple back in there. Who else? Who's the other one? Nash. So the midfield got a complete overhaul. They were the #1 clearance team. I'm not sure they finished, but for most of the year they were the #1 clearance team in the comp, and all of a sudden, you know, they're not an easy beat team in the midfield. So look at it from a personnel wise. If you're looking at fixtures, so you look at Melbourne. Melbourne leak a lot of points in the midfield, and now there's no Oliver. Maybe he plays round one, I don't know. But if there's not Oliver, well, Melbourne are going to leak a lot, you'd expect. So, you know, do Fremantle, they've got Young in there. Are they going to leak less now? So it's very hard to tell. It's not something I'd worry too much about. If you worry too much about early fixtures, maybe for some tags for players, like a Merritt's got McGuinness in round one, that sort of thing. And that's probably the only thing I'd really worry about. I wouldn't worry about fixture too much at this point. So hopefully that answered your question. But yeah, personnel based is generally what you want to look at. What you want to look at. Another one is Collingwood. They add Tom Mitchell in there to go. He gets better and whatnot, and they're all of a sudden a bit tighter in the midfield. So yeah, personnel wise. The next question from Shane Martin. Hi George, any thoughts on the ruck line? I'm thinking of going English and Gawn, but was thinking of Grundy regarding the midfield. Okay, so I'll answer that question. English and Gawn or Grundy. So something I want to point out with Tim English is, so how much is he? 715. Very expensive. Probably going to be R1 again. But I want to show you, I've said this a number of times on this channel, but I don't really hear much of it elsewhere. Oh, this is too zoomed in, hold up. Centre bounces, Western Bulldogs. Now if you look at Tim, okay, I'll zoom in again, it's a bit small. So you look at Tim English, last round, 53% CBAs. I think he only scored like 100 this round. They put Lob a bit more into the ruck. This is probably not going to happen often, I don't think, but every now and then this could happen because this worked and they won the game. And yeah, from reading reviews and even watching the game, it sounds like something that they could do in the future. Drop his CBAs, put him forward a bit more, give him a bit of relief. It's a big load to ruck every round. They're missing games as well, so that could be a factor. But if you pay $715 for English and this happens again, this 50% CBAs, and he's sitting in the forward line, and you're thinking, I've just paid $715K for someone that's sitting in the forward line for 30-40% for some games, it's going to drive you nuts. You're going to get smashed at points per dollar at that ruck one position. So that's why I'm steering clear of English, but he's still one that you want to upgrade to. He doesn't have the buy, which is pretty handy. So that could come into play, but still, like, I'm a bit worried about this. That's me personally. Might be better to ask a dog supporter on that, but I wouldn't do that. But I would definitely start Grundy. If you also the SCG is a small ground, which helps ruckman. So ruckman tend to score pretty well at the SCG rather. And if you look at Grundy's scores when he soloed, I think it was like a 130, 120, and a 140 last year. I don't think he'll do that again this year, as in for the full season, like average 130. But there's no reason why he can't do 105 plus. I think he did about 100 in his last year at Collingwood, struggling a bit. Maybe he does that, but even then, like, he's priced, what, low 80s. He should be 20 points of upside. And, you know, as the bridge gaps between Grundy and your Marshall or your English, that's when you can make the trade. It's a bit of an awkward trade, but you could end up making 150k on that trade if they drop 70k and Grundy goes up 70k. So that's the logic there. The next question or follow-up, what are your thoughts on Crouch? I've spoken about Crouch a lot. The one thing with Matt Crouch is definitely watch how the kids progress. So Rochelle, especially Pedler and Saligo, whether they get more inside time or do they get played wing half forward, that sort of role. They all sort of played. Some of them played certain roles there. So just got to be careful. Watch, because we saw Rochelle really explode at the start of last year and then faded out. Just something to monitor. But I think Crouch was, I think it was top 15 in the league for contested ball in the last six games. I think it was maybe 17, something like that. So he played well and he's changed the way he's played. He averaged 108 in the role. I think he can do 105 plus for someone priced in the high 80s or whatever it is. So that's my thoughts on Crouch. And then another question. He wants Butters and Rosie and Bont. Bont's probably too expensive for someone in the mid preseason, so I'll pass on Bont. And then Rosie and Butters. Is it okay to pick two players from the same team? Yes, it's fine. Yeah, there's no reason why you can't. Like, if you want to pick, you know, Butters and Rosie, that's fine. What's Rosie's ceiling? I'm not sure, but maybe he's got a bit more growth in him. You want to pick Brayshaw and Sarong, like, no problem. Like, they should both go 110 plus. So I don't think it's a big issue. So I think that's fine. Someone asks thoughts on going English and Romo as the starting rucks as a left field move. Interesting question. So I just touched on English about the CBA drop. Whether you're concerned with that or not, it's up to you. I would be slightly. Marshall's back half of the year was really, really good. I think he almost outscored English as well. In fantasy, he certainly did. Not sure about SuperCoach, but I just think it's too much money tied up into 2 slots. And you can, like, Grundy's just, yeah, he got to 600 last year. Maybe he can get to 600 again. And it's just too much money tied up into R1 and R2. Like, you'll start bleeding out your D6, your F6, your M8 sort of thing for longer than other teams, because other teams have gone the value route. So I guess they don't have the buy, and you don't have to trade them out unless injuries, because they're probably your 1 and 2. So there's definitely merit in doing it though. But I think early on you'll lose out in points per dollar spent, and yeah, you might be vulnerable to fielding a few rookies. So I think that's why I'll pass. It's just too much money, but it's not the worst. Like, Marshall for 640 or Gorn for 580. Marshall's in his prime. Gorn's going out of his prime, and he has a bye. And like, he has injury issues. Like, he had a hamstring last year early. It seems to have some sort of knee issue every year. So it's not the worst. It's not the worst move to go Marshall over Gorn. I just think English is too much though. So I think you got to pick Grundy. Bikes kind of sucks as well, but yeah, I think he can do 110 plus, especially at the SCG. So too much value there. So yeah, I'll be keeping Grundy, and then if you want to go one of the big boys, that's fine, but go who you prefer. As I said, with English, a bit worried. Next question from Harry Joe. With good value in defense and the ruck lines, there's temptation to spend some extra in the forward line. Other than the obvious Flanders, anyone you're considering paying an elevated price for in the forward line? No, not really. Like, 550k for a key forward, no. Jackson's essentially a key forward in that, with Shrek in the team. Bolton's inconsistent. Dusty's older, but you know, he looks like he's found another gear where it looks like he was tailing off. Just the role is not secure enough with a lot of these players. Like, we're just looking for a midfield role, and the DPPs will come, and you know, hopefully Billings can hold it down, Harley Reid can hold it down, and then we can get by fielding crap rookies, or maybe you like someone else, like a Fisher or Dev Rob or whatever, in the forward line, and just, you know, 4 of the first 6 rounds will be best 18, and even Sean Manor, he averaged 110 in the VFL. He could hold it down for us too if he plays. So I think you just go if you don't want McRae or Flanders, fine. I like Flanders a lot. He's a lock for me. And McRae is slightly worried about regression, but still, I think still have a bit of faith in him. So yeah, if you're struggling to fill out the forward line, or you see, oh, maybe I should just spend some money here and go like a Dylan Moore, I don't think there's any point starting him, because the role's not going to be good enough at this point. They're going to frustrate you, and they might go for hot patches and go 100s and 110 patches, but they might also, because the role's bad, like drop 30s and 40s and 50s every now and then, and that's going to piss you off. So wait for the DPPs, and then when these guys drop in price, well, most of them should, then you can sort of consider them. So I don't really want to spend much in the forward line. I think we have good, solid options in the ruck line, midfield, and defense. Some you got to pay for, but another question on Dylan Moore and the Hawthorn midfield. The problem with Hawthorn midfield, this is from Josh Berry, looking at Connor McDonald and Josh Ward, and you know, Dylan Moore, does he push up the ground more because they got Ginnivan in, they've got Watson in, they've got Gunston back in, assuming he plays. What does that mean for Connor McDonald and Dylan Moore? I'm not too sure. It's hard to... I think Sam Mitchell has really built this. Like, this is his midfield. He got rid of the old blokes. He plucked these guys out of some of them out of the VFL, some from Ireland in Nash, and he's put full faith in them and developed them. You know, Warp was one of his that when Warp won the best and fairest, he was his mentor. So this is his midfield. and it worked. It was the number one clearance team for, I think, for the year, if not most of the year. That was Day, that was Warple, that was Nash, that was Newcomb. Does he need to change this? I think the one that could be vulnerable here is Warple, because he's probably got a capped ceiling as a player. Good clearance player, but has his limitations. And that's where a Ward or a Connor McDonald could take that spot. And that's something we won't know, and it might not even be realistic. They might just be very happy with Warple in. It's a tough ask to break into that Hawthorn midfield, so it's just one that you got to wait and see. So Connor McDonald, I'm excited for if he gets the role, but he played the forward role quite well, and so does Dylan Moore. So yeah. Anyway, we've got, I think, 4 more questions. This one's from Matthew Anderson. Will it make a big difference as people think by not selecting any premiums from round 0? Did I say that right? Oh, will it make a big difference as people think? Okay, so I think what he's trying to say, or in simpler terms, is it a big deal basically to pick round 0 players? You know, you might only lose 40, 50 points here and there. Possibly you get lucky with a rookie score to cover, which would be great. Like maybe you pull an 80 somewhere. Remembering when last year, like a Tom Green, when he got suspended, a few others got suspended, and you copped that 30 or 40 or 50 on the bench, and that it felt like it really stung early on, and it's a pretty big points drop. I think the logic is here, what you do is if they're underpriced, you can put that money elsewhere, like a Sam Walsh. Save, I don't know, instead of picking 650k mid, you just pick Walsh, save 80k, you put that on the field, and that's where you get your points back over going someone more expensive. So you could see it like that. But if they're full price, probably like, you know, like Petrarca, for example. Who else do we have in the midfield that has the buy? Probably Dunkley's full priced. He can outdo that, but around full price. Yeah, Tom Green's got a bit of upside, I think, but yeah, Lockie Neal probably no upside there at his age. So if they're full priced and they have the buy, I think you skip. If they're underpriced and they have the buy and you really want them, I think it's fine to pick them because you make up that money on the ground. And yeah, it might not be a big deal because you might be able to loop your rookies as well. So you might have 5 rookies on the field and you just need 1 or 2 of them depending on the rest of your squad to do well. So like for example, maybe like a Jai Clark who say he plays, he's on the bench. Most people, if he does play, gets decent mid-time, drops an 80. That's your covering score. Probably only lose 30 points there. So I think it's not as big a deal as people think though. So, but yeah, full priced and buy, I think no. Underpriced and buy, yes, I think it's fine. Nick Dacos, I believe, is underpriced, so he's in for me. So I've got Dacos, Grundy, Flanders is underpriced in my opinion, and then yeah, Gawn as well, underpriced. So yes, I wouldn't go too many plays because you start losing 30 to 50 points in too many spots. But yeah, again, pick the underpriced ones if you want. Thoughts on starting? This is from Pads. Thoughts on starting Dacos or McRae in the midfield? So if you're not happy with the midfield, you know, you see all these options, they're too expensive. You're not happy with it. You like the forwards or defenders. You put them in the midfield. I've got Dacos in the midfield, and I like the defense this year. I think you can argue Sicily and Stewart have a little bit of upside depending on a few things. I guess Amon will probably affect Sicily, so maybe not there, but I think there's lots of solid options in defense. So I think putting a defender in the midfield is fine. Putting McRae in the midfield, I think you might as well pick a proper mid that has like no regression risk. But I think if you're picking, like, if McRae was mid only, would you pick him for 560k? Probably not. And I just think you need him in the midfield. You need him in the forward line, just given what we've been dealt. So, I guess you could do it though. Just depends on what else you like. But I guess that 550 range, sort of like your Tuke Miller, your Jack Steele, a bit more for Sam Walsh as well. They don't. Some don't have the buy there. Some have the buy, whereas McRae doesn't. So look, if you want to do it, I think it's fine, but I definitely think you want McRae in the forward line. As I accidentally closed the questions, let's bring them back up. I've got one more basically. This is from the Shelly Bean. Hey George, who do you think are going to be the top liners in each position? Okay, probably the most fun question till last. Is it fine to pick more players that play in round 0 and have an earlier bye, making your team for leagues instead of overall? Yeah, if you're playing for leagues, just go for round 0 players, that's fine. Now, who do I think will be the top liners? This is probably for another video, so I'll just do it off the top of my head, or looking in front of me if I think I've got some of them in my team. In defense, I think Dacos, Sicily, Stewart, top 3, Sheasel 4, probably Luke Ryan 5, Hayden Young 6, Sinclair there as well. Something like that. I think if Sinclair plays more mid, I don't think he'll be top 6, but if he does play more defense, he'll definitely be top 6. Midfield, we're going to keep Oliver out for now. I'm just not sure. So number 1, Bont, Petrarca, Butters, Green, Merritt. Who else we got? I'm going to put Dawson in there because I love the guy. LDU and Gordon. You know, I'll take Brayshaw over LDU actually. Although the numbers say otherwise, I just think I don't really want to put LDU in there just because his durability, but I'll put Brayshaw at 8, something like that. And then Rux, I think it'll be English and Rowan still. And we'll see. I think Gordon won't be too far off. And then in the forward line, there's not much point trying to predict the forward line. You've got McRae, you've got Flanders. I'll put Flanders at 1, McRae at 2. And then after that, gee, I don't know. Excuse me. I have no idea. Like, I don't even care for any of these players. We'll worry about the forward rankings in round 6 or 7 when the DPPs come through. If they come through, then we'll actually get a proper list because there's not much point talking about it. But if, I guess for argument's sake or for the purpose of this question, if we got no DPPs, it'd probably be Kerno again. Go 95 plus. Maybe Dusty if he finds some form. Maybe Daniel if he plays in the midfield more. Dylan Moore I think is like a 90s guy basically, and then I guess Luke Jackson maybe, but I think Jackson averaged in the 80s with Shrek in the team, and I think we'll get a few average over 90. So, yeah, you know, do they play Shea Bolton in the midfield? Because if Shea Bolton's playing midfield, he should probably be at number 3. But we'll see. But look, Flanders 1, McRae 2. So that's just off the, you know, without thinking too hard and looking too deep into the numbers. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the question and answer video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.